Okay everyone, welcome to C3. The first topic we're going to look at is adding and subtracting algebraic fractions. Okay guys, the question you're going to be asked is to simplify algebraic fractions. So we're going to start off simple and we're going to simplify this number one, 2/3 add 4/5. And then once we've worked out what we do with the numbers, we'll see if we can simplify our algebraic fractions. Okay, simplifying 2/3 add 4/5. And they might say simplify, or they might say write as a single fraction. Okay, so let's start off by thinking about the bottom. The denominator will be 3 times 5, it will be 15. So I'm going to write it as 3 times 5 on the bottom. And then I'm going to say to myself, okay, the bottom is 15. What is it that I need to do to 2/3 to make 2/3 into 15? Okay, so 2/3 in 15ths is obviously timesing by 5, timesing by 5. So on the top, what I'm going to have is I'm going to have 2 times 5 plus, how do I make my 4/5 into 15ths? I'm obviously going to times by 3. So on the top, I'm going to have 12. So I'm going to have 4 times 3. So that's my technique for those. Okay, what does that come to? 2 times 5 is 10, plus 3 times 4 is 12, and 3 times 5 is 15, which gives me 22 over 15. And of course, if I wanted to, I could write that as 1, and what's left over? 7, 1 and 7/15. Okay, let's move him over so that you can still see him, and we're going to apply exactly the same to the algebra. So when I did the numbers, I said I had 15 on the bottom, didn't I? There he was on the bottom, 3 times 5, and that was my common denominator. So for the algebra, my common denominator is going to be x plus 2, x minus 3. Now, let's take the first fraction. So this was me taking my first fraction numerically. I said 2/3 was 10, didn't I, over 15. So if I take my first fraction with my algebra, I've got to get 3 over x plus 2 to look like something with an x plus 2, x minus 3 at the bottom. So if you look what I did at the algebra, I said 3 times 5 gives me 15, and therefore I times the 5 up the top. So all I'm going to do here is I'm just going to say this must be timesed by x minus 3 to give me this denominator. So this is timesed by x minus 3. So the top of my fraction, in the same way that my top here was 10, the top of my fraction is 3 lots of x minus 3. So in here, I'm going to have 3 lots of x minus 3, and I'm just going to leave it like it is. Then I had a plus, because I'm plussing my fractions. Of course, if it was a minus or a subtract, you would subtract your fractions. Let's do the next one. So the next one is 2 divided by x minus 3, and I've got to get it so it looks like x plus 2, x minus 3. Okay, so let's have a look what I did with my numbers. With my numbers, I said 5 times 3 is 15, so 4 times 3 is 12. So what I'm going to do here is I need to times this one by x plus 2, and therefore I need to times this one by x plus 2. So I will be left with 2 lots of x plus 2. So here's my second fraction, 2 lots of x plus 2. And of course, when you get fast at it, you'll realise that to do the first one, you just times it by the one that you haven't got, and to do the second one, you times it by the one that you haven't got. Okay, let's move him over, because I need a little bit of space. Okay, let's move him up there. So I need to now simplify what I've got left. So 3 lots of x is 3x, 3 lots of minus 3 is minus 9, 2 lots of x is 2x, 2 lots of 2 is 4, so that's the top simplified. The bottom I tend, personally, to leave, all right? So I wouldn't bother doing anything with the bottom unless they asked me to. So 3x plus 2x is 5x, minus 9 plus 4 is minus 5, over x plus 2, x minus 3. I could leave it like that. If I happen to notice that the top will factorise, which it does, it's probably better, as it asked me to simplify it, it's probably better to actually get it as simple as I can. And that is my answer. Bingo! Okay, I've done this example because I want to show you a trick. Well, it's not a trick, is it? But I'm hoping you guys are all spotting this bottom bit. And if it looks a little bit nasty, I want you to think to yourself, we are going to factorise first. That's often a really useful thing to do when you're doing your algebraic fractions. So let's factorise out first. So the bottom will be 3 over x, x plus 3, and the top will be x minus 9, that's just the same. And be careful of this, look out for him. He's a square minus a square, which means he's x minus 3x plus 3, and they love those squares minus squares in algebraic fractions. Okay, so that's the bottom. So we're going to have to be quite careful here because we need to find a common denominator, which means we need this, we need an x on the bottom, and we definitely need an x plus 3, and we definitely need an x minus 3. And notice I'm not taking everything. That's as much as we need on the bottom. All right, as long as we've got an x plus 3, and an x minus 3, then we'll be fine. Okay, so let's begin. Let's have a little bit of a think over here. And I'm going to start off with 3. I'm going to take my first fraction. Here's my first fraction. 3 over x, x plus 3. And I want it with equivalent fractions to be x, x plus 3, x minus 3 on the bottom. So what is it that I have to do to the bottom to get it to look like that? So I reckon I am timesing it by x minus 3. So on the top, I'm going to times that by x minus 3, which means I'm going to be left with 3 bracket x minus 3. So 3 bracket x minus 3 plus, right, let's take the next one. So the next fraction is x minus 9 over x minus 3, I'm taking all this one, x plus 3. And I want it to be on the bottom x, x plus 3, x minus 3. Okay, what is it that I need to do to that to get it to look like the bottom? So I reckon I need to times it by x. So I'm going to times this top by x. So I'm going to get x, x minus 9, x, x minus 9. Okay, done. Right, let's have a look. I think I've got a bit of space actually on here. So we're going to times out the top. 3 times x is 3x. 3 times minus 3 is minus 9. X times x is plus x squared. And x times minus 9 is minus 9x. And then on the bottom, I'm just going to leave him. I'm not going to bother to times out the bottom. Okay, so on the top, I'm left with x squared minus 6x minus 9 over x, x plus 3, x minus 3. And that's it. All right, those are those fractions simplified. So if you can factorise, just do a little bit of factorising first. And don't forget to spot that square minus a square.